famous cycling event. Will America's Lance Armstrong be victorious again? Don't miss our coverage of the Tour de France. ABC Sports is online at abcsports.com, part of Go Network. Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland this man, Roberto Moreno, has led the most laps. He leads the race in search of his very first ever FedEx Series win. He scored his first pole to get in this position. He's being pursued now by rookie Kenny Brack and Juan Montoya. But for the most part, he's had it his own way. Now, here comes Montoya working on Kenny Brack. And Montoya gets him, so that's the pass that puts Montoya in second place. But Brack's going to come right back.
He's trying to
alongside.
And look at this. This is the beauty of Cleveland, side by side. Montoya chops him going down to the apex.
Just follow him. He's going to have to stop again. Duck in behind him and save some fuel. Get in behind him.
You can hear Scott Remke talking to Kenny Brack there.
And that is the whole story of this race now, Parker. Can you get it to the finish?
Well, Montoya's got to go 36 laps to the end. As hard as he's pushing, that's not going to happen unless we have a yellow. He's going to have to come in.
Don't worry about it. 2.1. You just work on that. 2.1.
He's going to have to come in for a splash and go. Scott Remke telling Kenny Brack he's got to get 2.1 miles per gallon. On the display on the steering wheels, it gives him instantaneous fuel mileage. They know how many miles per gallon they have to go. His target number, 2.1. Now this following train of Andretti, Franchitti, and Tamada, they have to go 33 laps. That means they can run a little more aggressively with the fuel and a little bit more power. We'll see if they can hunt down Kenny Brack before they get to the end.
Well, now with 26 laps to go, and we watch that battle for fourth as Franchitti continues to work on Michael Hard. And Cristiano Tamada is right there as a spectator, hoping that something happens that he can get around. I want to show you this. Look at the last pit stop. That's really the key to this whole thing now. Whether or not they can make it to the finish without having to stop at all. A splash and go, though it might be 2-3 seconds in the pits, is still costly because of the speed limit in the pits and the roll in and roll out time.
And right now, Montoya is just over 12 seconds behind Moreno. For him to have a chance to win this thing, he's got to hunt down Moreno. And as you said, he's got to get 25, 30 seconds of lead. I don't think that's going to happen with 25 laps to go, but certainly he's got to build his margin over this group of cars.
And with all of that, of course, you still have the battling going on. It doesn't mean that you totally pull out of the thing. And Michael Andretti has Franchitti working all over the back of the fourth place car. Gary Gerald?
Well, I think it's very interesting. Chip Ganassi on the radio told Montoya just before that sequence with Kenny Brack to stand on it, gas it, go for it. That tells me that they definitely figure they're going to make a splash because, as Parker pointed out, he was in 4 or 5 laps earlier than some of these other cars. Meanwhile, for Moreno, we're told by the team there that they've told him he can richen up a notch, and that would indicate that he's good for fuel the rest of the way. So the guessing game is underway here at Cleveland. Jan?
Yes, it continues for the Newman Haas crew as well. For Michael Andretti, they say that he can make it to the end, but it will be close. So they're watching their mileage, as we've heard. Kenny Brack is as well.
Again, here comes Michael Andretti with Franchitti working him, and Tamada working Franchitti.
And with the telemetry data and the fuel computers they have now, they can calculate down to ounces. The problem that they have is in these long sustained corners where they're pulling just over 3 Gs, can the fuel pickup system pick up those last few ounces on the last lap or two before they get to the checker?
We watch Roberto Moreno, the leader of the race. Just ahead of him is Brian Herta driving for Morris Nunn. Alex Zanardi fans, there's a pretty good story here.
This upcoming weekend at Sebring, Alex Zanardi is back, and he will be testing this car for potentially racing the car at the next race at Toronto.
So Morris Nunn renews his old friendship with Alex Zanardi, and we may in fact see him back in the series. Right now, though, it is Brian Herta in the cockpit trying desperately to keep from going a lap down to Moreno. Montoya was quickest last time around. John, you can add to that Alex Zanardi story, can't you?
I can. In fact, I spoke with Morris Nunn just before the start of this race, and I said, well, if the test goes well, will you have Alex in the car for Toronto? He says, I will not ask him. It will only be if Alex wants to do it and he feels comfortable. I won't put him in a position unless he really wants to go drive it.
Oh, yeah, the donut man, a chance to drive. No, I don't want, well, unless, of course, he has some sort of legal concern. But my impression is that all of those concerns are now void. His contract in Formula One is in fact at an end. He can do about anything he wants. Roberto Moreno, then Montoya, then Kenny Brack and Michael Andretti, followed by Dario Franchitti and Cristiano D'Amata as we move to the closing laps in what should be a fascinating finish in Cleveland. Alex Tagliani on the tow rope. He just rolled to a stop, but it did bring out a full course caution. And with that, heading for the pits was Juan Montoya. Gary Gerould.
Well, it was an absolutely routine stop. It was perhaps advantageous because I knew they'd have to have a splash. You heard Juan calling for a half a turn of front wing. He got the fuel he needed. No fresh tires. Stayed on the ones he had and was gone in about 7 1/3 seconds.
Go, go, go!
And after that, Chip Ganassi said you can go as fast as you can. Now, we showed you a graphic just before we showed you that pit stop that showed Kenny Brack as the leader of the race. We've had some pretty serious problems with kart timing and scoring. It's the system that generates those graphics into our system. And right now that scoring it is showing Brack and Andretti as having one more lap than they actually have. Roberto Moreno is in fact the leader of the race. He is followed as the leader by Juan Montoya, then Kenny Brack and Michael Andretti. We apologize for that misinformation.
And now Roberto Moreno's got a big problem because with that splash and go, Montoya's got plenty of fuel to run full rich. Moreno obviously is going to turn up the wick on this restart. He's gotten a little bit of fuel in the bank on this yellow, but it's Montoya that has the advantage as we get into the closing laps of the race.
In fact, even the drivers have been pretty vocal about getting the scoring system a little more functional because it confuses them most of all. They're the ones that absolutely need that information.
You know, and looking at the running order on the track, I think right now our monitor's completely wrong. I think Moreno's in the lead. We've got Brack, Andretti, Franchitti, D'Amata. Tagliani is now out, even though he's still shown on the track. You can see there's Patrick Carpentier, but it's this man now who is down, I believe, in 7th position, not in 2nd position.
There you go. With his stop, he dropped down to 7th. But the key is right there. Roberto Moreno. Not 22 to go. Can he hold on to score his first win for this man, Pat Patrick? Green flag, we're racing once again. And here comes Kenny Brack. Also Michael. Michael works on Brack. Franchitti is there behind him. Michael all the way off course. Franchitti darts to the inside. D'Amata looks for room. Franchitti goes way right, trying to keep away from Michael. Now they try to split him. Franchitti inside Michael. Oh, Michael lets him through.
What a bonsai pass. Dario just came down the inside. Michael didn't have a choice. He had to get out of the way. D'Amata took advantage of the situation. Now look, Carpentier trying to get around the outside of Michael. There's nothing like a 150-foot wide racetrack. Oh, and it looked like Montoya got into the back of Carpentier coming off of turn 6.
Remember, Montoya with that stop has unlimited fuel now. He has no fuel-saving campaign going at all. Chip Ganassi, his owner, said, you go ahead, gas it all you want. The others ahead of him are not as fortunate.
You know, and thinking about that pass, Michael rightfully could have turned down into that corner, but he knew it would have resulted in a big accident. He didn't have any choice but to stay out wide and let Dario come down the inside.
But Parker, of course, that all started with that tussle that he had with Kenny Brack, because Kenny Brack was pushing aggressively Michael out to the outside of the track, and that's where he lost that momentum.
That's exactly right, and I thought Dario would actually tuck a little farther to the inside. He almost followed Michael off the outside, just kept his left side wheels out of the grass, but was still able to out-drag him going down into turn 3.
Carpentier trying to work on Michael. Montoya trying to work Carpentier. We take you back to the front. Here's the leader. 2nd place, Kenny Brack.
And now as we look through the quickest laps of the race, Montoya has turned 3 of the top 5 quickest laps, followed by D'Amata and Franchitti. Usually this track gets a little slicker as it gets dirtier and hotter as the race progresses and the times actually tend to go down, but at this point, the speeds go down, the times go up, and we're seeing now as these guys push hard towards the end.
Use your overtake. Use your overtake when you need to.
They're going quicker and quicker.
That was Dario Franchitti's radio you were listening to. So Franchitti has driven a good race, a very aggressive race in the last few laps. Worked him up into third place, but still it is Roberto Moreno that is at the head of this race, looking for win number 1.